It should be obvious that we cannot solve a crisis with the same methods that got us into it in the first place.
This is a last chance saloon. Because if we don't really take the decisions that are vital now, it's going to be almost impossible to catch up.
We will end the moratorium on extracting our huge reserves of shale, which could get gas flowing as soon as 6 months. We'll give way.
If unprecedented changes are not made and made soon, there will be irreversible damage to the planet.
Zerocarbonista. Hello and welcome to Zerocarbonista, Series 4, Fool's Gold. I'm Ian Collins and this is the UK's #1 environment-based podcast. If it's green, it is in. As we record this episode, the sunshine is with us. We find ourselves sitting on a veranda in Bromley, enjoying some South London rays and a swift pina colada. How's yours tasting, Dale? Morning.
Mine tastes a lot like green tea.
Does it really? Yeah. It's funny that, isn't it? Yeah. I just didn't have enough to go round. It's all it was. Let's start off here. I love this story. I say I love it for all the right reasons, I hope. Carbon offsetting and greenwashing is something we have talked about a lot on the programme. And we know there are some pretty bold characters in this world.
Yeah, we've got a couple of stories here rolled into one, haven't we? We've got UK authorities coming out and saying that they look set to ban greenwashing, in effect, the use of carbon offsets in advertising claims about being carbon neutral, carbon friendly, planet friendly, all this kind of stuff. I mean, there's a whole proliferation of terms being used now by greenwashers, and that looks like it may come to an end if it's predicated on carbon offsetting. And at the same time, there's a massive carbon offsetting company based in the US. They were at the center of a scandal a few weeks ago when they were accused of selling something like $1 billion worth of meaningless carbon credits, and the boss just quit. So these two stories, to me, they look well aligned, actually.
Because he was a dick, that's why. I mean, it's kind of as simple as that, really. I don't know what point they thought, I think we can get away with it.
Well, and carbon offsetting has been around since the 90s, right? I first bumped into it then after I just started ecotricity, and I never liked it. And I never liked it at all because it's like an excuse for not doing what you need to do, which is reduce your carbon emissions, and it kind of gives it gives people a kind of an easy pass, right? Just offset your guilt by paying
I've polluted the shit out of this town, but don't worry, I've bought a cactus, so that doesn't really kind of work. I've noticed in supermarkets as well, there's a lot of food manufacturers just selling stuff in green packaging and things like that. These are kind of very sort of subtle ways of making you think you're getting something. Unless you buy a green salad, of course, then that is fair enough that it's in a green package.
It's true.
But you take my point, though, there's a lot of that going on. Sowing the seed that there's something more environmentally friendly about these particular fish fingers because we've changed the packet to green.
Yeah, agreed. And actually, you reminded me, somebody sent me a report this week. It's been written by a bunch of trading standard officers that set up their own kind of group to look into plant-based labeling. And they've basically written this advice for all trading standards officers, which is fairly crazy at its heart. It says that they shouldn't allow the use of kind of names that are similar to milk or meat or cheese or that kind of stuff. Anything that's intentionally misspelled or sounds the same, it shouldn't be allowed. They're saying because like dairy products, for example, have distinct nutritional profiles, and plant-based alternatives might be different. And basically, I mean, it confuses the hell out of me because they're saying that plant-based foods must make clear that they're not dairy, but they can't use terms like not milk or not dairy, or like, well, how are they meant to do it then?
There's a lot of this going on, isn't there? And it might get worse before it gets better, perhaps, in that respect.
Probably. Most things do.
Here's a question from Rupert. It says, guys, I sent you a story about the sales of vegan food stagnating in the UK. Is there a revision of vegan food ongoing? We've seen the prices go up more rapidly than meats during the cost of living crisis. Do you also think veganism has become politicised? A few things to tuck into there.
I like it. Yeah, it's a really interesting story. And, I read a few of the comments from the Vegan Society. I think they're right. I think there's been a bit of a rush to the market, a bit of hype around vegan products. Lots of people piled in. Oatly, for example, don't just make like oat milk. They started making ice cream and they've withdrawn that. And so I think you've got on the one hand a crowded marketplace. On the other hand, you've got a cost of living crisis. And these products have been premium priced, which is wrong because plants are cheaper than animals, right? So I think you've got a combination of factors: cost of living crisis, crowded marketplace, a lot of hype around vegan products. And it just looks like a correction to me. It doesn't look like the end of the world.
Yeah, agreed. Here's a headline. Is it too late to stop deep sea mining? What's going on here?
Well, that's really interesting. There's been this body talking about this for 30 years, based somewhere in the Caribbean. I think they're called the ISA, and they've been talking about deep sea mining and how it could happen in international waters and so on and so on. Turns out there's a kind of clause in their constitution that says they've got until July to make a decision. So they're being told by the mining industry they either allow deep sea mining by July or it'll happen by default anyway. I mean, that's like 2 months away. So we could be 2 months away from a cataclysm on the seabed because, these guys want to strip the top 10 centimeters of the seabed, mash it to bits and extract metal from it. And that's where all the sea life lives, and then these places on the seabed are so remote, so deep, we don't even know what they are, but we may be about to destroy them.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, isn't it? You'd think, it goes back to those kind of, I wonder what happened in the board meeting when someone said this was a good idea.
That's right.
It was a nobody around the table who went, are you sure we should be doing this shit?
Well, and like these mining companies that are really pushing for just commercial interest, they're arguing that we especially need these minerals and metals for the renewable energy revolution, for example, for car batteries. But lined up against them, you've got big car manufacturers like Volvo, for example, and I think BMW. And so, basically what they're saying is BS, and they're just like looking for a way to make a buck.
Yeah, of course. We've had a lot of questions over the months on climate reparations, and I spotted this story that fossil fuel firms, that's not easy to say with this pina colada.
It's easier than pheasant pluckers, right?
That's very true. Apparently owe climate reparations of $209 billion a year.
Yeah, so 209 billion jumped off the page at me, and then I saw per year, and I thought,
I know, yeah, this is grave stuff. What's the deal here? Just explain, Dale, if you could, what is meant by climate reparations, and who are they paid to, and who from?
Yeah, so this group I've never heard of before, actually, the Climate Accountability Institute, have done a study. It's thought to be the first, or at least the most in-depth version attempt at putting a price tag, basically, on the climate crisis and attributing it to the oil majors based, I guess, on market share and how much of this stuff they've produced over the years. And it's come up with this staggering figure of 209 billion per year. But it excludes the cost of loss of life and loss of wildlife and some of these other kind of almost unfathomable issues. And so it's not even the full cost of the climate crisis. It's very interesting because around the world, oil majors are being sued by people affected by the climate crisis, including by U.S. federal states. Actually, they're being sued for having lied about the impact of their product for decades. They're being sued, and somebody putting a price tag on it has got to be very interesting and more than a little bit worrying, I would have thought, if you're an oil company or have shares in them.
Question here from Stephen. Dale, long-time listener, absorbing your insights into the world of sustainable living. Have you heard of Heat Geek? They train people to get the most out of their heat pumps, and it sounds like yours is woefully inefficient and expensive. Maybe get them round to take a look and make a video. Thanks for all you do. You inspire people like me to do more and take it up. Big divide in the room, of course, over heat pumps. Your issue, Dale, has always been pretty simple. There's nothing wrong with the boilers we've got. It's just the crap that comes out of them that's the problem. Keep the boilers, change the source.
Yeah, simply change the gas in the grid, right? Boilers work. We don't have to replace them. But look, I'm not against heat pumps, actually. I think there are circumstances where they can work. What I'm against is the idea that the answer to decarbonizing the heating of our homes is simply walking away from gas and everybody having a heat pump, because it's simply not feasible. There are something like 20% of homes for which heat pumps simply cannot work ever. And there's another 20% that need major intervention. And then all heat pumps in all use cases will increase your household energy bill by around about 50%. I mean, that's the physics of it. If you look at the coefficient of performance and blah, blah, blah. We wrote a report about it attached to our green gas report from May last year, if anybody's interested. But basically, 300 billion for a national heat pump program, 50 billion for a national green gas from grass program. And that's, for me, that's where it boils down. Just say, look, there's nothing wrong with heat pumps per se, but they are definitely not the best alternative that we have.
But so you've got one, haven't you?
I do, yeah.
Is it possible, though, from what Stephen's saying, you haven't read the instruction manual properly?
Yeah, everything's possible, right?
Have you plugged your in pipe into your out pipe or some shizzle like that?
So I had my first heat pump more than 20 years ago. And so, I kind of understand them a little bit. But I'll take a look into Heat Geek. And, fundamentally, though, my experience of heat pump isn't what's driving this. It's the data. The idea of a national program, when you crunch the numbers, we need to make 3 times as much renewable electricity to power power our homes if we have heat pumps as we do if we have boilers and stuff like that. That's what it's all about. I mean, I know that heat pumps work. They just aren't the silver bullet or the magic bullet to this issue that a lot of people say they are.
Hi, I'm Mike Graham from Talk TV, and I've been asked to tell you about green issues and a new book called Manifesto. It's brilliant, apparently. Do you believe in climate change? I don't. Do you believe we all need to find a greener way of living our lives? No, I don't either. I think it's all a load of guff perpetuated by loony lefties and eco-zealots hell-bent on causing a nuisance. Do you believe we're all killing our beautiful planet? No. Neither do I, but I know a fellow who does. His name's Dale Vince. He's so convinced he's written a whole book about it called Manifesto. The Battle for Green Britain. It's part memoir, part handbook for changing the world and shaking it up, apparently. I won't be buying it, but you can if you want to waste your hard-earned cash. It's $4.99. Pretty cheap, isn't it? You must be wealthy as hell. According to this script, it's available now from fgr.co.uk/shop.
Great headline here. Share prices of the big polluters fall after climate lawsuits. And we're seeing more and more climate lawsuits. And I guess it stands to reason if there's more of the headlines like that, then people will go, why am I investing in these quits?
Yeah, we just mentioned that, didn't we, in this story about the 209 billion estimated reparation cost, compensation, let's call it, from the oil companies to the people most affected by the climate crisis. This is the kind of thing that is worrying shareholders and stock markets. And somebody's done a study, actually, just to get into that and says, look, the swing or the drop in share prices whenever there is a new lawsuit or a successful decision is between 0.5% and 1.5% of the entire value of the company gets wiped off on the stock market. So I would file this in the category of, look, that's not a surprise, right? That the stock market reacts to legal challenges and fines and stuff like that. That's not a surprise, but it's nice to see the data.
Indeed. Jenny says, you had a question the other day about AI or climate change. Which one is more dangerous? But do you actually think AI could be used to help fight climate change?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt that coming when you were halfway through it. Absolutely. I don't see why not, because AI can be used and is being used to do some incredible things already. Examining MRI scans and finding tumors at a success rate far higher than the human eye can, or things that may develop into a tumor. AI is already doing incredible things.
And this one, Peter, the animal rights organization charity.
I thought, who is this Peter? But now I know.
I know, because everyone says Peter. Yeah. It is actually Peter.
Is it? Oh, right. I'm in the category of everyone. I always say Peter.
Yeah, I don't think they're fussed as long as we talk about them, and I'm always very happy to talk about them because they do some incredible work, and hugely responsible for things like fur being banned on catwalks and goodness knows what else, and they've done huge stuff. Now they want the Gloucestershire cheese rolling event to use a vegan alternative.
Yeah, and why not, right? Because taste isn't an issue here. You just roll the fucking thing down a hill.
These are the big things where somebody gets clocked in the bonce by a massive piece of cheddar. Is that right? That's the one.
Yeah, it's a great big wheel of cheese.
Get run over by your own cheese.
Well, nobody actually ever catches up with it. They set the cheese off first and then everybody else chases it. And it can reach 70 miles an hour, which is far faster than a human can go down a hill in one piece. So nobody ever catches the cheese. It's just a question who gets to the bottom of the hill first, But, some poor cow suffered in the making of that cheese. And Peter's point is, look, just have a vegan alternative.
Yeah, it's a curious. I've seen some videos of this, and each their own and all that sort of stuff. And I don't like Morris dancing. It's like, okay, if you want to do it, it's fine. But I just have this kind of image of, I don't know, a Jesus character sitting up on a cloud, looking at the world that he made and orchestrated, thinking, how the did this bit go so wrong? We've got these people are rolling cheese down a hill.
Yeah, I see it.
What bit do I need to rewire in the system?
Yeah, I got it. Big eye roll from up above.
Indeed. And Neil on Twitter says, I heard a guest say on right-wing radio the other day that global warming stopped 25 years ago. Is there any way we can make such misinformation or denial illegal? This does come up a lot, doesn't it? Because to go back to what our Lord Almighty or our Maker gave us in terms of the incredible ingenuity of the human condition, and our neurological systems allow us to invent and innovate, etc. The ability to make a graph is both brilliant and the worst thing ever, because people around with those things. Have you noticed that? They like give you half a graph to look like a whole graph, or they take a segment from a graph, or
they change the axis.
They change the axis of the graph. And so the graphs is a den of mischief, frankly. And I think that's where these kind of stories come from. Because I get this on the radio. Whenever you've been on with me, we do a debate on this stuff. I can set my watch by it, Dale. Someone's about to send me a graph.
Oh, really? Brilliant. And it's like the old adage, isn't it? There are lies, there are damn lies, and there are statistics.
And graphs.
And graphs. Yeah, we have to add graphs to that, I think, the Ian version. But look, I saw this as well. This guy saying it stopped 25 years ago. He also said, and by the way, most of it's not man-made anyway. And I was thinking a couple of weeks ago that actually we should make it illegal in the way that we've made Holocaust denial illegal. We should make future Holocaust denial also illegal. And there's a better case for this, right? This isn't just about denying something happened in the past. If people deny the coming Holocaust of the climate crisis now, they're doing real harm to the rest of us, because they sow doubt and confusion, and they can slow down the real action that we need to fight the climate crisis. So I say we should make this future Holocaust denial an actual crime.
Yeah, indeed. That would make sense. And we know that some social media sites have been pretty good. They did it with COVID, didn't they, of taking down some...
And vaccine conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I mean, but they're all the same people, Dale. That's the thing. The very same people. I mean, I'm not suggesting that whole vaccine thing they got 100% right by any stretch of the imagination, but nobody would, or whether lockdowns were, could have been done in a different way, blah, 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 learning curves and all that. But they are the same people. If you meet one of the vaccine deniers, they are also the same person that will tell you that the hot weather is just a nice summer.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the way they're wired, right? Or it's just where their lives have led them.
Yeah, I think they are wired. I think that's the problem. There's a bit of that going on. Should we just give a mention to WOMAD while we are here, Dale?
Oh, yeah, why not?
Because we're back there again this year. After that incredible day we had last year, setting up a stage, and then suddenly, hundreds of people arrived to look at us, to look at you on a stage. It's amazing. Your song and dance routine was something I've never seen before.
Yes, very, very rarely seen that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because, we've been doing sessions on stage at WOMAD for like some years. Jon Snow usually hosts them. It's always been great. A great crowd turns up, and then we get a huge kind of Q&A participation and stuff at the end. Yeah, I mean, last year we did our first live podcast episode from there on stage, and I'd say it was great fun.
It was amazing, and we're going to record another podcast again in exactly the same way. But what was great was the questions. Remember, we were meant to do about half an hour, and we were there for about 2, because the questions just kept on coming, and you gave a bunch of books away and stuff, and the sun was shining. It was amazing.
It was brilliant, and it's like that. The engagement from the audience is just incredible. I mean, WOMAD is a wonderful festival, and the first time I went there, like many years ago, I just felt like I'd gone home. That I was just surrounded by friends and family. It was an amazing and funny feeling all at the same time. Yeah,
it's absolutely massive as well, isn't it? Because you go to one particular bit that interests you, whether it's the poetry bit or something about eco-fashion or the kind of stuff we were doing, but then you go to the other side of the field, and there's great food outlets, and there's a fair, and there's the whole family thing. It's huge, and I think there's a lot of. I mean, tens of thousands descend on the weekend, but there's a lot of people not aware of WOMAD. So you should get your tickets, book it, and come and see Dale on stage on that. I'm looking for the day. It's terrible, isn't it? Can't find the date. We'll mention it on the next podcast. But it's easily in July. Yeah, it's definitely in July. It's definitely the Saturday, and if you Google it, you'll find out when it is. Perfect.
Nice one. Good plug. Good vague plug. That's my style.
Vague plugs are where it's at, frankly. Dale, we're speaking a week.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Cheers.
Have a good one. That's it for this episode. Don't forget, of course, you can download this podcast from your podcast provider so you get each new episode automatically. Leave a review there too. Really important bit, follow Dale on social media, twitter.com/DaleVince, facebook.com/DaleVince, and on Insta too.
Zerocarbonista.